I want us to become brothers again like we used to be, and for us to find ourselves and bond with each other. Can we agree to that?
Opinions vary.
Welcome to Three Brothers Filmcast. I'm Anders Bergstrom, and I'm here with my brothers.
Anton.
And Aren.
My last name is the same as my brother's.
And this month, we're discussing Josh Safdie's Marty Supreme, starring Timothée Chalamet. This whirlwind of a movie about one young man's quest to be the best has emerged as a box office hit and awards favorite. Then, we'll take some time at the end of the episode to look back at the past year and some of our picks for the best films of 2025. Remember to leave us a 5-star rating and review, and share the podcast with your family and friends, which really helps us reach new listeners and grow this independently produced podcast. Thanks for listening, and now, on to the show.
And here we go.
Marty Supreme is a rush, one of the most exciting and finely crafted films of the year. It's a character study and exploration of the American desire for success and acclaim. As the subtitle to the film proclaims, this film is Made in America. Josh Safdie and co-writer Ronald Bronstein, along with star Timothée Chalamet, take the real-life story of Marty Raisman, 1958-1960 U.S. men's table tennis singles champion, and loosely use his story to explore the unrelenting, single-minded drive of Marty Mauser, a young Jewish New Yorker who has global ambitions in table tennis. Marty will scheme, lie, and hustle his way to get to Japan to challenge for the world championship, and he won't let anything get in his way. Josh Safdie manages to make a film that rivals the intensity of his earlier films, co-directed with his brother Benny, Uncut Gems and Good Time, bringing a new sense of scale and attention to detail. But what makes this film even more of an event is Chalamet, who pours every bit of his energy into Marty Mauser, delivering one of the most singular performances of recent years. If it wasn't enough that he's already a global superstar, this film demonstrates his commitment to craft, to say nothing of the breathless and seemingly unending promotional tour Chalamet has conducted. Who doesn't want a Marty Supreme jacket? Clearly, I loved this film. It's neck and neck with One Battle After Another, which Aren and I discussed in November, as my favorite film of the year. And honestly, it might have the edge right now, just because of the freshness and energy it delivers, its fantastic supporting cast, and especially its killer soundtrack from Daniel Lopatin, and the fantastic, if anachronistic, use of some 80s classics on the soundtrack. I think Josh Safdie has earned his seat at the table of the next generation of directors who will likely one day be discussed alongside the PTAs and Nolans of the past.
Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Aren, we know what you think since you've reviewed the film for the website. So I'll start with you, Anton. What did you think of Marty Supreme?
I thought Marty Supreme was excellent. And it wasn't what I was expecting because I wasn't following the reviews on it and the buzz around it. And so I went into it expecting that this was going to be kind of a more traditional, like, sports drama.
Okay.
You know, it admittedly won by one of the Safdie brothers. But the fact that this is still sort of a crazy crime type movie as well. But it also, like, as you said, Anders, it's such a well-made movie that I was immediately drawn into the movie. And I admit I had a strange experience going to see the movie because I was late. And I'm almost never late for movies, but we've had so much snow in Ontario the past few weeks. And so I missed probably the first 10 minutes of the movie, unfortunately. And I know I probably missed a lot, and I've read up on some of the stuff, but, like, despite the fact that I came in and I was like, I don't know what's going on, and it's, like, already a table tennis tournament, and he's sort of working his way up in this table tennis, the synth score, the way it uses titles, the way the camera's working, like, usually I'm the kind of person that I would be annoyed that I was missed that much of the movie for a long time, and it would take me a long time to get into the movie. But, like, I feel like 10 minutes once I sat down, I was already really into the movie, and I kind of forgot I had missed the opening. So I just think it's a super grippy movie. But
I think you and I might have to go see it again because you got to see the opening with the amazing title credits with the use of Alphaville is Forever Young. It's something else. Wow. Yeah, I think we're then all mostly on the same page here about that. It's such a exciting and it is fresh while seemingly still part of the tradition of, like, Hollywood movies, right? Like, this is very much Josh Safdie's, I think, bid in some ways to, like, also, like, by doing a period piece and wedding some of like the energy that his other, and sort of that unrelenting anxiety that some of his other films have had, to some of these other more classic genre things, the sports story and the all the one crazy weekend kind of stuff. I think this is, his bid to sort of like be taken more as like, a mature director in some ways, ironically as well.
Is this his first solo
and I think you see that in the themes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Benny and Josh had their first solos this year?
In solo products this year, with Benny doing the Smashing Machine. So Aren, I wanted to ask you, do you agree with most of what we've been saying?
I mean, yeah, I loved it, but it's I don't know if it's so much a matter of this movie being any more commercial or mainstream than Uncut Gems. I think it's just a matter of marketing and Chalamet being in it, and maybe it's just a bit of the presentation of when it's being released, and just that kind of maybe leaning on a more comprehensible genre approach, like in the fact that this is a sports movie. Uncut Gems obviously involves sports. It's about sports gambling, and it's about basketball, and it's also a period piece in 2009.
True, it's set at a very specific time and period.
Yeah, during the Celtics run to the finals. Obviously, it's the second round against the Sixers. But I don't know. I think it's just maybe a little more savvy in terms of its approach, and also the fact that it's Chalamet, not Sandler. It means that people are more likely to take it seriously because Chalamet is the A-lister of the moment, and Sandler, however much people will agree that he's a very good actor now, he's still Sandman, right? Like he's not your best actor frontrunner, even if people really, the online set really had hoped for that. So I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm not surprised that this movie's doing well within the award circuit, and I expect it to get a good number of Oscar noms, which will be a little funny to think that this movie, which is maybe the craziest of the Safdie projects in terms of the action on screen, is the one that is the most, quote, respectable, unquote, right?
Yeah, but that's just because it's so sprawling, right? Like in one sense, and yet contained. It has these multiple levels, right? So it's like, in the one hand, you get this like Marty's world tour, traveling with the Harlem Globetrotters. And I did just look before we were recording that the real Marty Reisman did work for the Harlem Globetrotters, which I didn't realize. But yeah, so you got it's sprawling, but then you get those like contained, intense bits. And so I agree that in some ways this is their like his craziest film.
I think it's that the film, it takes like the conventional shell, but then it's what it does within that. So people approach it and they're like, oh, this is like, a sports drama or, an underdog tale. I kind of didn't know if it was kind of like a biopic too, in the sense of the way it's promoted. You think that this guy's actually a real guy. Like, I didn't go up and check the Wikipedia page before I saw it to see, was there a Marty Supreme? And it's as a period piece, it's sort of sold as a biopic, but then when you're watching the movie, someone, I forget who, described it as sort of a bit of a bait and switch, that like, because it has that, so you have this opening scene, but then you get into the tournament and you start to think that this is like going to sort of go where you think it'll go. And then, about that point where, I don't know, maybe the bathtub falls through the floor and smashes the guy's arm, like, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, this is not the movie I thought this was going to be. So if anyone goes into it, and I think there's quite a few people who will go see it for Chalamet and sort of like, oh, this is sort of an awards season movie. And then by that point, they're going to be like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that exact scene. So I saw it first Friday of January in a pretty full theater. And it's Friday night at the Queensway in the GTA. And the theater was packed, but the whole cinema was packed because it was like parents taking kids to go see Avatar or Zootopia 2 before going back to school, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of buzz, and I think a lot of the adults or couples and stuff went to Marty Supreme. A lot of women maybe want to see the Chalamet movie, but don't really know what they're getting in for. And so I'm sitting next to this probably like 30 35-year-old woman. And when that happened, she was so horrified. I was actually like laughing uncontrollably throughout the entire sequence. Like,
It is funny.
It's very rare that I laugh out loud at like non-comedies. Like The Naked Gun, I was dying in the theater, and everybody was. But in this, I don't think everybody in the theater was like laughing, and I was just losing it. And the person, she just kept looking over me like horrified. But throughout the film, like he's making the Holocaust jokes, and she's looking over at me. And there's the whole sequence of Gezerorig telling the story about the honey that he's like smuggled in
when he was in Auschwitz.
Yeah. And then there's the whole like Kevin O'Leary vampire comment, and she's just kind of giving me these side-eye looks throughout the whole movie. I don't think she was quite knew what she was in for, and I think she was partially horrified in my reaction to it, because I just thought it was like a hilarious hoot, like an absolute rush, but also like not saying that I was from a distance to it. I was like so engaged to this film. And I just want to go a little bit further here, because I think one of the most interesting things about the Safdie project, and this film in particular, is its kind of a relationship to anxiety, as you said. It's a movie that like thrives off of that tension that it creates in the audience. And it's, you know, I even in my review described it as like a panic attack thriller. It's a movie that seems to want to create the sense of experiencing a panic attack and keep you on that edge of like fight or flight, and just ride it as far as you can go. And I think that's why some people reach like a level of exhaustion, because of the length. It's 2.5 hours. Even Uncut Gems, I even felt a little bit of that, partially because I don't think Howard is the master of his own destiny in the way that a Marty is. The fact that Marty is actually super talented and not just a degenerate gambler makes him admirable and charismatic in a way that Howard, however likable he is, isn't. But the key here, and I think this is the thing that some people really fail to dig into when they're talking about Safdie Project, is that the anxiety is one that the filmmaking exhibits it, or the filmmaking creates that emotional response in the viewer, but the characters don't feel it. And it's actually the fact that the characters don't feel it that you feel it more.
That's a good point.
Like, should be more.
Marty's
like,
not anxious.
Marty should be way more upset. The fact that he has like destroyed every relationship along the way. That he like when I was trying to talk about like that car, $2,500 in 1952. How much money is that? That's like he owes tens of thousands of dollars in today's money. Like, it's crazy. He should be more anxious.
No, but Marty, because Marty's whole thing is that like if something breaks, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, I'm crafty enough, I will figure out the next plan. And the thing with Marty is that people, even talking about him as a scammer, is not really fair to him, because he is talented and he only resorts to the other things so that he can get back on the path of where he's like his pure talent is the thing that shows through. It's like, well, the stakes are they're unfair. I am such a good table tennis player. If you just let me play the table tennis, it's fine. But you won't allow me to do the table tennis. So I have to scam and hustle and do all these other things to get to that baseline in his mind of greatness where it's pure, competition between him and Endo. And it's just this interesting dynamic where I actually think that we witness this guy who seems to almost be oblivious to the chaos he's creating, makes you more like, oh my God, does he not realize he's destroying all these people's lives?
There's that conversation. I think he first has the conversation with Gwyneth Paltrow's character, and then he also has it. With
the girlfriend.
The girlfriend. Well,
Rachel.
Her sort of
Rachel.
sort of girlfriend, eventual mother.
Mother.
His mistress, kind of.
Kind of. I know. It's like what are they? But
their relationship is actually interesting because it's also strongly implied that they've known each other since they were kids.
Yeah.
Too,
he said that they're childhood buddies.
Yeah. But so he tells in these conversations, he's like, most people's life is just a complete like mess. They just do whatever. I'm in control. I determine what goes on. And that's really that to me sort of sums up the character and this discrepancy you're describing between like what's around him and himself.
But remember, it's the thing that he says right after that. And you think it's a good thing, but it's not. It's a burden.
Yeah.
You can live a normal life and there's no expectations of you, but I'm expected to be great because I can be. It's like he thinks it's the whole American burden of like, you don't understand. You're just a normal person. I'm somebody who's meant to be special. And because of that, I have a different set of rules.
So
Yes.
It's really fascinating.
So I do want to come back at some point to also what you're describing as the way the Safdies use form and content. You know, like how much of this movie is the form that affects us and not just the crazy material that's put
we
on
need
screen.
to talk about
But like, first of all, I think it's like, because I think we're getting at something here. Who is Marty Supreme? Like, what is he? What is this character? Because you're right, he's not just a scammer. Like, there's something they're trying to. It's not a message movie, but you're creating a character who is almost an archetype for aspects that you see in sort of the American dream, in these sort of larger, collective aspirations that are individualized in sort of the American consciousness. But, so Anders,
I was going to say, like, yeah, I think it is trying to say something in that way about the American dream. But the films that embody the American dream that I would compare it to would be like the Godfather films
Scarface.
in some ways. Or, maybe Scarface, but also
it's like this,
maybe
driving aspiration that, like,
Goodfellas. There's a strong Goodfellas.
I will keep going.
And Scorsese
Yeah,
aspect of the
Goodfellas.
film too.
Because Goodfellas is also about what he thinks he's
Wolf of
owed,
Wall Street, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
But
he has. Aaron's right also that he has like ability. He's competent in his particular thing, right? So it is also that's how it becomes also, like, I think, even though it's unconventional in lots of ways, we have to also think of it as a sports movie. Because the sport matters in the table tennis.
Because of the way it ends.
treats actually table tennis really seriously. Like, coming out of it, you're like, this is actually kind of a sport. Like, like if someone didn't think that, you're like, this is actually...
You're Kevin O'Leary. You're Mr. Wonderful in the scene when he first comes in. He's like, you introduced me to table tennis. It's actually really, really...
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole, like, Dragon's Den aspect of the character, of having him to... It's like... Because then he's like the wealthy guy who's going to potentially give him the offer,
Yes.
It's like, that's why it's a great casting.
The casting is so perfect, actually. Yeah. It's crazy.
No, he's good.
I was really impressed with him, actually.
Briefly on the sports comment, I'd also mentioned this in my review, but I think the character he reminds me most of is a real person. It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
and it's because Michael Jordan, especially in the Last Dance documentary, exhibits a pathological pettiness and narcissism that is like, oh, if I see an athlete at this level of peak performance and this level of individual excellence, and I remove them from the context of their sport, which is much of Marty Supreme, him removed from the context of his sport, he exhibits the behaviors of maybe a psychopath. Because it's like, you are so dedicated to this one thing that does not align with the values of anyone else or the best needs of anyone else, but you are convinced that this is something that you yourself are called to do, and your talent and ability demonstrates that you are capable of it. Therefore, everything in life becomes some kind of pawn or some kind of motivator to drive you towards this individual goal. So the slightest comment that somebody makes as a throwaway becomes, the whole meme of Michael Jordan, and I took that personally.
Yeah.
That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
And Marty's kind of like that, where it's like, it's either he takes everything personally and it's a chance to show them up by being great, or everything somebody else is doing is actually just a means for him getting his thing. So, his buddy, played by Tyler, the Creator, your whole problem is a problem, but only in a sense that it slows down the process of me getting where I need to. And Dorian, I'll get you the money back because the money's guaranteed, because I will win, because I am that great. And the way he deals with those issues is just devastating.
For someone like Wally, he's like, at one point he actually says, he's like, I have a wife and kids, man. I need this job. And you're like destroying me.
But that's why the Rachel relationship's so key, because she can't just walk away from this issue.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's like now there's a tangible result that he is now beholden to that is not just about his quest for table tennis school, right? And that's why it's the interesting tension throughout the whole movie, is that he can't just use her for an end there, because there's an obligation that if he's actually great in the way that he talks about, it requires him to act out in a certain way that is not just for himself.
Yeah. This, Aren, the comparison to The Last Dance, I think, is really interesting because it points to ways that we can think about sport that are more akin in times to how we think about artists. And what I mean is that a lot of time we get very conventional stories, movies about like a struggling artist who wants to achieve, to do whatever they feel like is their their purpose, their expression, and to hell with everyone else. I'm an artist. I got to express myself, like, and for some reason we often buy into that for the artist, right? We're in the sports movie, we often have to have some sort of external justification to explain why we should care about a sport, a game. So is there a larger national pride at stake? Is it that the community will come together around this? Is it about, remember the Titans, like personal betterment? Like, we're going to become better people because the way we play our sport. Whereas here you have a character who is, as you say, borderline sociopath or psychopath, driven to do what he wants, highly competent, but to hell with everyone else. I want to be the best at this. And it's interesting how by sort of pushing it to such an extreme here, it does sort of raise that question of like, well, what is this sport? Like, what is it? What is it doing? Because you're right, it's not, what is greatness, and does it better anyone else, or what is the point of it?
I have a purpose.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Do you make money at this little table tennis thing?
Not yet.
Do you have a job?
No. Backhand, forehand.
How do you live?
Well, I live with the confidence if I believe in myself, the money will follow.
And what do you plan to do if this whole dream of yours doesn't work
That
out?
doesn't even enter my consciousness.
Maybe it should.
There's a reason it's not called Marty Mauser. It's called Marty Supreme, and it's not just because of the ball, right?
Yeah.
It is that it's like, what does it mean to be truly great? And I think that's where, Aren, you're totally right. That I love your reading there, because it combines that aspect of his quest to be great with the final question that he's posed in this Rachel's pregnancy and the baby, right? Which is like, if you're really truly going to be great, you might actually have to take this on, right? And it's a weird thing, because it's also a thing that I think kind of like offers a moment of like grace to him, like an opportunity for you to like truly prove yourself. And then the movie ends, right? But
then it's interesting that the film sets up this nice foil, right? Like a contrasting character with Endo, the Japanese player, who very much embodies what we expect in a sports movie.
Pride.
He's gonna lift up the nation through
And
his
he's
success.
deaf, so he's like disadvantaged in it, but he rises above the people.
Whereas
He seems like a
literally
really
the
great
people,
guy.
literally the backers for Marty are like, we don't want you to do what you're doing. We don't want you to win in this moment. And, the nation's not behind you. This isn't about like American pride here.
Endo is actually maybe one of the most admirable characters in the film in a conventional way, right?
Well, he
Like,
also gets his moment where I think it like, to make him not just sort of this like sort of the good guy but / villain or antagonist. The fact that he gets to, he chooses to play the real match against Marty is like a big thing.
Is another thing that's like you actually admire him for.
Yeah, totally.
Ultimately, he's like, okay, I'm gonna give this guy the real chance. No, but also and so then of course to go back to some of the filmmaking like at that this question of like greatness and everything, and then the end of the movie with the song, the Tears for Fears, everybody wants to rule the world, right?
Yeah.
Is just like so perfect.
Yeah.
Like I know some people might complain about some of the 80s, like the use of the 80s music. I think most people like it, but like it reminds me of moments of the way even someone like Scorsese uses pop music along with other music in his films to do stuff, which I'm trying to remember. I think Uncut Gems had like some of the bit with The Weeknd and stuff like that, but it was more diegetic.
Sometimes the best use of
Good Time has more music, but
sometimes the best uses of pop music, right? Like by people like Scorsese, like Tarantino, you get the feeling.
Sofia Coppola,
American Graffiti, where you get the sense that the movie scene was written with the song in mind.
Yeah.
And it had to be that, and it makes it work in a way that, as we've complained before on this podcast about kind of sort of, TV needle drops, where you're like, someone gave them a list of songs, and you're like, can you just get one of these in here on a scene? Like,
Yeah.
But it's also the idea that the song is like, by saying that it's written for the song, it makes it seem like the scene wouldn't work without the song, but it's actually just that it's such a perfect fit, as opposed to what TV shows like Grey's Anatomy do, That's the king of all
they
the,
use
the needle
they
drop
use
shows.
the
Just
song
nonstop
as a
music.
crutch. It's a crutch, right?
It's exactly. It's
Yeah.
like you underrate the scene, and you have no actual emotion in the scene.
All the
and then you
emotion
just
is
put
the
a song.
Coldplay song or whatever they're doing.
Exactly. But there's a lot of filmmaking touches in this movie that I think do harken to those, like, New Hollywood. Obviously, a little bit before that too, because you have the extreme dedication to like realism, quote, realism as cinematic. The Safdies love Cassavetes, and so it's the obsession with close-up. But then it's not like kind of an unbroken naturalistic approach to that. Obviously, they incorporate a lot of non-professional actors in the background. That's why you get like the man with the golden voice is the guy at the ping pong hall. Do you know about that guy?
No.
He's the dude who's like working the cage, who like the entrance, but he was this homeless guy who has this beautiful voice that kind of sounds like Barack Obama, and then they made him like a celebrity in 2010, and then he like fell back into drugs and alcohol and became homeless again, and the Safdie's like, no, I'm bringing him back. I want him in this movie. He's not an actor. I don't care. I just want this guy. Or he's the Harlem Globetrotters. Those players, it's like Tracy McGrady is back there, and like a few other like former players are like the Harlem Globetrotters and things like that. And so he incorporates these guys, and the guy who plays Dion's dad is like a billionaire. He owns all the grocery stores in New York City.
And as far as I know, Luke Manley, who plays Dion, this is his first major role in a movie.
No, so he incorporates
he's great.
those non-professional
He's such
things.
a singular character.
I love the scene where she's like, "Oh, this fat," and he's like, "Hey, he's one of the people I actually care about. Don't say that. It's mean." He's like very protective of him. He's like, he's the one of the few guys I like.
Yeah.
No, but so they incorporate these kind of naturalism with that cinematic experience, but it's also again shot by Darius Kanji, who also shot Uncut Gems, and the visual style creates that weird tension through the use of telephoto lenses, which is really drawing on Altman. That's how Altman would do his close-ups, and so you shoot from an extreme distance, but you shoot in close-up. So it creates this extreme collapsing of the character to the audience, but you still get a huge amount of detail in the rest of the frame, but it's fuzzy. It's not super clear, and so it creates that realism, again. But it also it's almost impossible when you're shooting on that, kind of lens to make it super stable. So you always get a bit of a shake.
You get that
to it.
wobbliness to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because physically the lens is so big.
Just
unless you were like literally like locking it down.
Yeah, and then the production design by Jack Fisk. Like
classic,
incredible.
Like Jack Fisk, who worked with Terrence Malick on Badlands, who's worked with David Lynch.
Didn't he do There Will Be Blood as well?
Yeah.
So it adds to
with
their
PTA.
like the comparison to Goodfellas, the way that or Mean Streets, the way that Scorsese captures sort of the Italian American sort of like ethnographic detail, this
does that for Jewish Americans.
Yes, and in the New York City, and there's such an attention to that sort of subculture.
Yeah, it's fascinating comparing this movie to something like The Brutalist from last year, which The Brutalist is also about Jewish experience in America post-war. Obviously, it's an immigrant experience. It's Philadelphia, so it's not New York. It's like there's differences there, but that's a movie that had a very low budget and does a lot visually within the low budget, but it doesn't actually have the means to have the verisimilitude of urban scenes that this movie does.
We can't have a whole street.
The scene when he takes the money
and runs,
and he just his bag, and he just runs through the street, trying to get away from the cop that his uncle hired to like scare him and
straight.
Stuff. Yeah. And you just get this long sequence of him just sprinting, and it's so realistic, but it's realistic without pointing out these kind of signifiers of time and place. And that's what I think is so good. It's something that actually Goodfellas does great, and that's why a lot of people who love Goodfellas might not even really click that the movie takes place in like the 50s, then the 60s. Then, you know what I mean? Like the time period stuff doesn't really gel in their brain. They just think
but
of
it's
it as
very
the
accurate
past.
though.
But it's super accurate because it seems real, and you're like, but it's also cinematic. It's that weird dichotomy of feeling it's interesting to watch on screen, it's visually textured, but it also doesn't seem like it's play acting. And that's really important for a movie that has this amount of intensity, because you can't keep that kind of emotional pitch at such a furious level if you have some element that's going to break it, which is why the music choices are so ballsy, because they do puncture it deliberately.
Yep.
by saying we're going to break the verisimilitude and we're going to bring in this emotional moment that actually supersedes the presentation of it, because it creates this kind of across America thing. And especially the fact that it's 1980s music.
Yeah.
So you get that kind of Reagan era idea of self-actualization through the market and through the...
But also
we're
the
taking
film,
the chains off.
And the songs also, though, kind of like also implicitly critique, right? Like
Lyrical
something
selection,
like,
right?
This is what you want. This is what you get. And you know,
No, the
Peter
lyrics always
Gabriel,
matter, right?
You know, the Peter Gabriel song is great, as well.
No, it's
You're right.
It's kind of like marvelously directed, this movie.
I like that idea
it's-
of the music reminding us, in case we were starting to think that this was actually a real biopic or something. You know, like it keeps like reminding us, no, we're like our scope is actually larger than just, even though we're paying so much close attention to this detail in the culture and sort of New York City and, you know, the late 50s, it's like we're also, movie's not just about that. It has sort of like a larger message too.
Well, again, that's why the title screen, when it's the ping pong ball turning around, it says Marty Supreme, and right underneath Made in America, like on the screen together. And so
But it's also the
underlining
transformation
for
of
you.
the egg into the ping pong ball.
Yeah. No, that's
brilliant.
incredible too.
I want to talk about the casting, because this is a way we can maybe mention a couple of the other
Yeah, beyond
performances we haven't
Chalamet, right?
gotten
Like,
to.
Supporting
Is that
cast.
because obviously this is Chalamet's movie, both
No, he's
in front of and behind, really
He's the best
promoting it,
actor
everything.
out there now. Like, frankly, at this point, for like A-listers, he's at like Leo at his peak powers game.
Yeah,
at this
no,
point.
it is. It's very similar. But I was going to say, and your notion of realism, and that cast. If there was, I think, is there a new award for casting coming at the Academy Awards?
Yeah, there's an Oscar for
this
best
movie.
casting.
I think should get it, not because of its stunt casting. But
Sinners
because,
is going to win it, but
but because of the way that the casting adds to the realism, right? Because by having real people like their friend, the guy, you know, with the golden voice, but also casting people for who they really are. So they are in their performances repeating things from the real world, right? So like Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, is the billion doing the you know, giving him the offer. It's credible. It's real. Is that, you know, Kay Stone is this. Do you remember Gwyneth Paltrow? She was a big actress 20 years ago or so.
She's really good in this.
She's very good in it as well. And then, you know, so by having some of these actors sort of like they're thematizing through the casting.
David
their own
Mamet
character.
as the theater director, briefly showing up for like 2 minutes.
That scene also.
Oh, was it?
Where Marty shows.
Yeah, it's David Mamet.
Oh man,
It's great. Yeah. No, so a lot of times that the casting adds in that way. So
No, it just compounds these levels of like fitting the right person. Texture. Again, this is a movie that understands something that so few movies and TV shows understand, that faces are interesting.
Yes.
And so let's put interesting faces on screen.
Yes.
They
So-
don't have to be beautiful.
Yes. No, exactly. You can have an interesting face on film that is kind of conventionally ugly. But
yeah,
it's
from
in-
Abel Ferrara's Crags to like Dion's kind of funny, like, you know, fat guy face, or like even actors and actresses who might otherwise be different, like they pay attention to this. I've recently been trying to talk to some of my students about like the difference between old movies and new, and how film form adds these sense of realism, and not just in a sort of like, well, old movies are better kind of thing, because new movies can't do it, and this shows. But you know, I watched a YouTube clip, and it was a guy who was talking about like the haptic quality, the touch
I've seen that
quality, and I think this film has that feel to it, right? Like things feel real, and characters' skin textures, even like the freckles on Gwyneth Paltrow's shoulder, or Odessa Azion, Rachel, her facial, you know, features, her freckles and things like that. There's this detail and this like, these feel like real people. They're not just like Instagram
Marty's
models, you know?
pimples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
And he
kind
has
of
like sort of a
pathetic mustache.
scar. He has like sort of, there's there's definitely sort of a little bit of scarring he has too. And even the pink that's actually interesting for the tactile and touch, because also a ping pong ball has such a unique like physical quality, because it's so much lighter than you think like a ball should be in that sense, but it bounces great.
But it can travel so fast.
Yeah. And the movie, you know, that maybe then borders into another thing that the movie takes seriously, wants to pay realistic attention to, was just like the sport of table tennis, ping pong. Like it takes it seriously. And I have to admit, I love ping pong. I used to play a lot. Where I was at a resort vacation and I played some ping pong at the resort against people.
Yeah.
And winning some
games. The three
Anton,
brothers had a ping pong table in our basement when we were kids.
Anton, it's so enjoyable when you at like a bar or something and somebody's like a guy, you get this kind of like douchebag guy will be like, okay, let's go. I want to play. And then you're like, well, you just don't understand how many hours I used to play in my basement. And then you just like destroy them because they just can't serve properly, or the idea of just putting like a little bit of spin on it just like throws them off entirely.
And there's that great moment where like Marty's watching Endo and he's like, what's he doing? Why is he holding the paddle like that? And then like he can't, because again, he hadn't played with that spin style that they were introducing. And he's just, what?
You mean the pen style? Yeah. Holding the pen? Which Dad plays like. Remember?
Yes, Dad does hold his paddle like Endo.
It's very. I'm more of traditional. I have to do forehand style. But
anyway, the movie it also made me want to go out and just be like, I probably need to buy a ping pong table, put it in the backyard.
Yeah. You should. Get the boys into it. Anton, have you seen Challengers?
I have not, actually.
So I haven't seen any mention of this, but I would have to think that Safdie has seen Challengers because it seems to borrow a lot of the tennis scenes from that movie and the approach of table tennis here, in that like the extreme physicality, the way it's shooted, but also the use of CGI to aid some of it so that the actors could focus on really big physical exertions without worrying about landing the actual hit. Yeah. So the ball itself in some takes would not be there.
Okay.
And they'd be like miming it.
Yeah, I was sort of wondering actually. I was wondering how they did that. Because I would say not knowing when I was watching the movie like the use of special effects and stuff, like it all was very convincing.
Well, it's because it's not every shot. That's the thing. They just work it in sometimes.
Yeah. No, but like they were convincing matches in the sense of like it seemed sometimes sports movies, especially when they're sort of like lower rent or for kids, they don't like the sport's so unrealistic. Like you couldn't, they'd be like, you don't get that much time with a soccer ball. Like time doesn't slow down like that when you're gonna take your, in hockey, like for Mighty Ducks or something. But like. But yeah, this movie, like, it had that the intensity in the back and forth of table tennis.
Service switches to Kletzer.
So what do you think this movie's saying?
I mean, I think it's about America in all of its kind of shameless glory, frankly. And I think this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand, a lot of critics, a lot of cinephiles, online types, film Twitter types. Some of the people that I've seen criticize this movie, it always seems to come down to some kind of moral judgment on the character of Marty. And I think the thing that they're failing to understand with art in general, but also the tradition of American cinema that this is playing into, is that it's not particularly interested in any way, shape, or form in a moral judgment, one way or the other. And actually, the whole beauty of a character like Marty is that this film is not condemning him, but it's also not like ignoring his negative sides or his positive sides. It's just kind of showing the complexity and the charisma, but in the infuriating limitations of this individual. And the whole thing in the end is that he still kind of like wins you over despite all of his his worst impulses, and because of his best impulses. And I think that complex feeling, especially as, I don't know, maybe not to get too political or cultural or anything about it, but just we're in this moment where I think most people in America, maybe even especially outside of America, are kind of rethinking their attitudes towards America as an institutional like power in the world. It's like, why are we so attracted to this thing?
Yeah.
This concept of America. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, because it kind of kicks ass. You know what I mean? But it's also like kind of awful. It's the two.
It's both at the same time.
And it's equally those things where like the American dream, when people are like, the American dream's a lie, it's like, no, the American dream is a lie if it's told that it will always come true, but it clearly does sometimes come true. And that's the actually insane thing about it, because it leads people to go to America because they're like, that's the only place in the world where I have a chance of becoming something, despite the fact that I've born into nothing, and all I have is this one idea or this one talent or whatever.
And there's like the sense of like, what is the cost of trying to achieve your particular greatness.
Yeah.
If if someone's like a Marty and they think that they have this to achieve, and it's not just so the movie. What I like is that it sees this as both. It sees the sacrifice that Marty makes, but it also sees the toll that he puts on other people. Like, other people have to sacrifice for him, not by their own choice. He's forced things upon them. He's ruined things for them. There's a cost to sort of achieving what he wants to achieve. And the characters, like, why he's such a remarkable character, that, like, I think he'll be sort of one of these film characters who you remember.
Yes, absolutely.
Is because he's so driven. But I think the movie's great at just showing, like, what being that driven does to people around you, as well as yourself.
Yeah, and that the question is the cost, the toll, you say, right, of greatness and what it takes upon a person. And this is something that's really fascinating with the ending of the movie to me, right, where he returns home to Rachel having given birth to their child. And it's interesting, in another interview, I saw Kevin O'Leary, and this is, I think, very telling. Kevin O'Leary said that he thought that Rachel should have died in childbirth at the end because that's what Marty deserves. Right? Like, that would be, in his mind, the fitting, after all the trouble he's caused and all the it's a very interesting moralistic statement to come from Kevin O'Leary, right? But what the movie holds out is actually not that he gets what he deserves, that actually, after all that, there's still a moment for redemption, a moment for you to, once again, rise to the occasion and show your greatness here. Are you going to take it? Are you going to take this
another
opportunity?
challenge?
Yeah. The challenge. Fatherhood.
Things don't end in life.
No.
There's always another challenge.
They're not neatly tied up.
No, but it's also like, doesn't matter even if you stand on the podium. This is a thing that artists will tell you, athletes will tell you. Like, I often think, it's like a couple weeks ago, and I was reading some recap from an NBA game, and it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who won MVP and Finals MVP last year, and won the championship with the Thunder, and the Thunder this year having like a historic season again, and he was like so distraught by the fact that they'd lost 2 games to the Spurs in like the matter of 4 days. And it was at that point only their 4th loss of the season. And he was like, oh, it's just, at this point, nothing will matter if I can't get that second chip. And it's like, dude, you literally just won the championship like 7 months ago. Like, how are you? Of course, you have to create this narrative in your mind. They're like, I'm not satisfied with that. It's like, you literally have ascended the peak of your entire profession in the entire world.
Yeah.
And yet that's not enough, because you have to motivate yourself to do the next. It's never enough. It's never enough. And that's why that's such an American thing. It's such an artistic thing. It's such a sports thing. And Marty just embodies that so well. And maybe it's something really fitting. Like, we're recording this, almost exactly a year after David Lynch died. And I always really respected David Lynch so much because he was one of the few artists who tried to push back against the idea that you need to achieve some kind of greatness to make your art meaningful. Or like, he was kind of like, the value in it is the exploration and the like joy and love and meaning you get out of it, not this idea that you accomplish something once it's created. It's the art itself that is the meaning. And it pushes back against that American concept of like, well, I'm doing this to get that. And it's like, no. You're never going to get that thing because you're going to die in the end. Like, we all die.
It's really interesting on a number of levels. So like, there's also like, I feel like when I mentioned like the promotional campaign for this, I'm like, Timothée Chalamet is doing more than any person could possibly do to try to like secure that Oscar, get it in the bag.
Yeah, because remember,
like, he wants it. He is almost like a real life Marty here. He's like,
no, but do you remember his speech last year at the Screen Actors Guild Awards? He's not quoting that I want to be a great actor. He's like, I want to be one of the greats. Now, he's not saying acting. I want to be like Michael Jordan or like Jimi Hendrix and stuff. Like, it was just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're like,
insane.
No, this is a guy who takes it seriously. He actually wants to be great as like an icon.
Yeah. And it's funny because like then, there was we already had the Golden Globes where he won the actor in a comedy. And I was just thinking of, and because then I had recently watched Dumb and Dumber with my boys, and Jim Carrey, I was there when Jim Carrey won his second Golden Globe for the TV show that he was on. I forget. Anyway, he came up and he said, this is great. He's like, now I'll be, 2-time whatever Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey. And it's like, and he's like, because before this I was like, am I enough? But now I'm like, I'm two, and when I die, I'll be a 2-time winner. But there'll be a part of me that's always wondering, should I get that 3-time Golden Globe winner? And it's like, and basically he's kind of making fun of that idea that you think these things are going to be enough. They're never enough. You have to be enough on your own.
Anders,
right? Ultimately.
Your comparison here, bringing in Jim Carrey, makes me think I just watched the Simpsons episode where it's Lisa's future. And it's like 2010, and Lisa and her fiance go to, it's like 44 shorts about Jim Carrey or something, and like they come out like, I never thought I'd find someone else who appreciated the art of Jim Carrey the same way.
Anyway, it's just like I just think there's like this. Timmy is being Marty in real life.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying.
It's all it's a show, right? And that's the other thing.
And he knows.
No, but this is the other thing why sports is so important as the central focus for these types of American narratives, is that sports is immaterial if we don't care about the end game of it, right? Like only because we are so invested emotionally in the outcome of this arbitrary sport event does that actual action now be imbued with greatness. So, like, who cares if you are really, like, in a grand scheme of things, like, being great with a ping pong paddle is not, like, that impressive. It's a neat trick, but it's not really, like, it's not in any way on the same level as, like, being a surgeon or, like, being able to build, like, a car with your bare hands and stuff. You know what I mean? It's not, like, a useful
But as you
skill.
say, there's something existential about it in that you imbue it with meaning and you give it that meaning. And because of it's important. Yeah.
But it's also, that's why it's such a useful avenue to examine this concept of greatness, because it doesn't have the baggage of the other things, so you can see it in its purest form, where it's just ambition and result and like the cultural understanding of an action. So yeah, this movie's great.
How you doing?
Marty, look what I got for you.
What is this?
Check it out.
What am I looking at?
Turn it over.
Manager?
Manager.
Come on, Murray.
Whatever you do, just don't tell Lloyd about
Look,
this,
I've been very clear with you, all right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. You built something very commendable here, and it's been good for my soul.
I don't want to discuss this now.
Stop. Let me say something. It's been good for my soul to see this up close and personal.
I don't want to.
I'm not a shoe salesman. I'm not a shoe salesman.
Well, see, I don't want to discuss this.
No, but I do want to discuss it now, because when I'm back from my trip, this is over. I'm not coming back here and doing this. Speaking of which, can we settle up now? I gotta buy my plane ticket.
We'll settle at closing.
I wanted to see the travel agent on my lunch break.
You'll never come back after your lunch break.
That's what you think of me?
Yes.
With Marty Supreme, with Avatar, Fire and Ash, which I dug a lot, and then some.
You guys think
That's
it's
the
great.
top movie of the year.
Oh my goodness, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It's not.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I'm
well,
just joking.
why
I'm
don't
not
we
saying
talk
you
a little bit
dislike
about
it.
that, guys? So I think the year for me, between those films, the year ended on a high note, 2025.
Absolutely.
Aren, I know you've published your top 10 films of 2025. What are some of the best films of the year? And maybe we'll get a couple from Anton and myself as well.
Well, I mean, we talked about the other one on a couple podcasts ago. Like my top movie of the year, which it's the vanilla choice. It's one battle after another, which I just seen it in early October when I finally got to see it, and I was just blown away. And like, I'm a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. I really love There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread. I really enjoy Licorice Pizza, maybe largely because of the hangout vibe and the music, and I admire all of his films in various degrees, but I wouldn't say that he's like my favorite American filmmaker of this generation, or favorite kind of contemporary artist, middlebrow kind of filmmaker. But this one, I was just kind of struck by how it hits all those levels that I want in like a serious American movie, in that firstly, it's super entertaining front to back. It's got really good characters. It's really strange and it's really funny. It speaks to the moment, but it doesn't seem hemmed in by this idea of making a statement about the moment, which I think is the things that's some films.
I think some people are overreading that. I mean, my admiration for the film is as much just for how it like gestures to things and like lets us like think about it without having a definitive statement.
Yeah,
about it.
but it's also like, it's just I don't need another think piece on Paul Thomas Anderson's relationship to Black revolutionary women, or a reading of whether Sean Penn's character is like, should we laugh at him because he's a fascist? Like, I just don't need that.
Yes,
it's
we
so
should,
stupid.
actually.
No, but it's like, well, he's funny and he's terrifying and he's both those things simultaneously, and that's kind of why the character's fascinating. But yeah, I was just riveted watching, and I rewatched it on New Year's Eve with my wife because she hadn't seen it, and I was just like, again, like, no, this movie's awesome. Like, this movie's just so good. So that's, again, vanilla choice. It's most people's top of the year. As I joke, that and Sinners and Hamnet is like some combination of those three is like 99% of critics one of their tops, like their number one movie. It's one of those three. Marty Supreme is one of my other, like, I had that number 3.
Right now, it might be my favorite, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I can't.
And
I
again,
want to watch it right now. Like,
it's a little bit of recency bias because it's the movie I'm like buzzing about.
Yeah,
and so that's why the other movie of the top 3 that I was, and again, you might even say this isn't a movie.
Oh, it is. It is.
I saw it much earlier in the year, but it's Adam Curtis's Shifty, which I just
so good.
Thought was fascinating, examining life in Britain at the end of the 20th century. That's literally the subtitle of the movie. And it just goes from Thatcher coming in to Blair taking us into the new millennium through the very specific lens of British history and how this dream of recapturing the glory of the empire actually is the final sell-off of the empire, and what that means about us nowadays and how we make art and interpret the stories before us to kind of justify our inaction in the moment. It's so fascinating, but it's also so good. And the thing that I find most astounding with Shifty is that, like, how does Adam Curtis keep finding some of this footage that I've never seen before? The first shot in the movie is Jimmy Savile sneaking up. If you don't know who Jimmy Savile is, just go look up Jimmy Savile or go watch The Bone Temple, which is currently in theaters, where the Jimmys are all dressed as him. He's one of the most notorious pedophiles ever, but he was a children's entertainer. Just think about how creepy that is. It's him sneaking up to a door.
Terrifying.
And he raps on it, and he kind of gives a little mischievous wink. He's like, oh, let's see, we're sneaking. And the door opens, and it's Margaret Thatcher welcoming him in, and there's all these children coming in. He kind of Pied Piper-like puts all the children into the door, and he follows behind and closes it, and he gives a little wink to the camera, and it's like, shh, quiet, like, don't tell, we're sneaking in. And you're just like, the implication of what that means for, like, Britain, like, where it just captures...
It's horrifying.
So much, so well. And you're like, man, Adam Curtis, you're just a genius.
And into literally the Prime Minister's office.
But that's very esoteric stuff, because there's probably like, how many people in, I don't know, like how many people on Letterboxd have actually watched Shifty? Like 1,000? I don't know. Like, but what about you guys?
I really liked Shifty a lot. Yeah. I'd have that up there. A couple films that I don't think you mentioned that I like quite a bit. I would have Marty probably up at the top. And like most conventional people, I would also have One Battle After Another very close, if like 1A, 1B kind of thing. I really liked Sinners. It stuck with me for the year.
Sinners is good.
I actually, a couple other films, like I actually think 28 Years Later has grown on me just in my mind over the last little bit, just because it was such an unusual and interesting blockbuster film. But the other film I caught up with recently that I'm not sure to say is like my favorite, but it's certainly one of them. It's a provocative film. Is Ari Aster's Eddington? Man, I nobody's talking about it probably because nobody wants to talk about 2020.
We all want to forget it.
And the film, like, it is weird because it's almost a farce, like at times, like, and it's certainly not naturalistic and realistic. Like, there's like this strange like hobo character who's going around causing trouble, and then Sheriff Joe Cross, the Joaquin Phoenix character, has to like fight him, and then it does devolve into an insane ending, like that is just wild.
I haven't watched Eddington yet, but have you watched any of Ari Aster's short films?
No.
So his short films are much more humorous, but they are like kind of vile in like the humor. Like they go wild places, and so it's interesting that he's finally bringing this in.
To be honest, it's like. It's certainly some people would think some of the things are in bad taste in the film. But I do think that many people, again, trying to like shoehorn a particular political reading of that film, which is obviously political because it's dealing with like the divisions in America during, around COVID and around like the Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these things. But it is very clear what the framing of everything is. And I won't give it away if you haven't watched the film. I think that a lot of people's political readings of it are kind of don't match what the movie is actually showing you. I'm like, so anyway, I thought it's definitely a significant work that'll probably we'll come back to it maybe eventually one day. Anton, what about you? Is there any ones that you admired that we haven't talked about?
So I haven't seen One Battle After Another yet. That's still, I need to just find the time and stay up late and watch that. I would say from earlier in the year and then later in the year, things have stuck with me. I actually think, I think 28 Years Later is one of my favorite movies of the year. It just really stuck with me. I think I really like the filmmaking in it. Danny Boyle's editing, just the strange use of images from Henry V and just that the Boots poem, just there's stuff like that where it's way more interesting than most horror movies. Although I'll say, even though I don't think it's a perfect movie, it wouldn't be in my top 5. I do think Weapons was a lot of fun, and I think this year solidified that Zach Cregger's movies are just going to be events going forward, the way that now Jordan Peele has set himself up that way, the way that Shyamalan used to be. So I'm excited about that. So I like Hamnet. That's probably my favorite movie of the year. Aren will disagree, but that's fine. And the other movie,
don't need to hash it out again. It's okay.
The other movie
You're allowed to like it.
The other movie that you guys haven't mentioned that I just think is a significant movie of the year, even though it's just a blockbuster, is the final Mission Impossible. I
didn't see it.
I actually think that just the final reckoning, it wraps things up nicely in the sense of being sort of the final one. But I also think I've started to see some really great pieces out there about the Mission Impossible series, and I think at this stage people are starting to be like, what Tom Cruise did, and Christopher McQuarrie and others. What they did in these movies is actually something special, and they're probably, I think, going to be we're going to think about the Mission Impossible series as sort of artistically significant, in the decades that come, in a way that I think if it was after Mission Impossible 3 or 4, people would probably laugh at that, but I think he's done something special with action filmmaking.
So I rewatched them all this summer. It's funny. I had the anticipation that I would go see the new one, and so I watched all the old ones, and rewatching them I do think it's maybe it is the most good, not great series ever, in that every entry is good to very good, but I don't think there's a single one that I'm that's a great work of art, but it's just so consistently entertaining. But yeah, I had the bad luck of having my son born on the day that it came out, so I didn't see it.
Shame on you.
It's his good luck. Yeah. One day he'll be when the trivia of what movie came out the weekend you were born. For me, it's E.T. But two other movies that technically, I guess, had come on the festival circuit in 2024, but I only saw this year. And Aren, one you had on your list is EFIS. Great film.
Yeah, EFIS is so good. I've seen it multiple
But the other
times.
one, I think it debuted at TIFF in 2024, but is Friendship, the Tim Robinson, Paul Rudd film, which I absolutely love, and it is definitely in my top films of the year because I wrote a strong review for the website. But yeah,
the psychedelic frog scene in that movie is just
it's so good.
It's just oh man, it's just the opposite of
between
what you
that
ever,
and The Chair Company. I would also put, but Tim Robinson had a year.
He absolutely did.
I'd say 2025 was a pretty good year for movies, actually.
Agreed.
Compared with on the whole. I hadn't seen as many as you, Aren, and I could easily pick 10 movies that I thought were deserving this year.
I only
and
saw
I can't always
a
do that.
good amount because I got all the screeners in December and went kind of psychotic reviewing movies for the website.
Yeah, so check out our website for Aren's reviews of the 2025 films, and
including Wicked for good.
I'm also interested by just at the very end of the year some promising signs. I mean, we'll see the state of cinema, but just the fact it's sort of nice when you have a December, January where, okay, you have an Avatar, Zootopia is still going strong, but Marty Supreme and then The Housemaid, which I haven't seen, are both cleaning up at the box office in a way that you wouldn't expect. Like, that movie's made $100 million, and Marty's at $80 million domestically, and those are, that's quite good for that sort of a movie. So, some good signs for films that aren't just the franchise ones.
Not move. Do you have any weapons on you, sir?
No, sir.
Why are you running from us?
Had a long day, man.
You didn't see the lights back there?
Oh, yes, I did.
What did you toss out of the vehicle?
Excuse me?
What did you toss out of the vehicle back there?
Trash.
You sure about that?
Yes, ma'am.
You been drinking today?
I've had a few.
A few what?
A few small beers.
I think, we'll be back next month and with some new movies. I'm looking forward to the new year, 2026. Crazy. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Three Brothers Filmcast.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
I bid you farewell.